January 31, 2023, the last day of the month of January. This is the 2000 tick chart of the SPY S&P E-mini on the Thinkorswim platform, Paper Trader. This is what I saw in the charts today, and this is how I drew out my lines. So this trend line came into play a little bit later. I'll show you the intermediate trend line that I had, and I just kept adjusting it throughout the day. I noticed there was a kind of a big leg up, and then I just dropped in another leg to see if there's a measured move kind of at the low, which is here. So I kind of drew this guy first, and then this guy was actually a little bit lower here, and then later I adjusted him up when the low was achieved right there. So let's go in and see how many, see what the trades I took. I took 4 trades today. They're all green. I was fortunate. And overall, the day was kind of a big, slow, pretty much a slow rally. And everything kind of fit within this this trading channel. And there was a trading range early on, but it broke out. And I got to say, there were a lot of little stacked trading ranges throughout the whole day. So you don't have to listen to me talk about each one. Just go to the description below if you want to find out the points of interest today. So let's zoom in. So ignore this arrow for now. This is just showing one big leg up. In the beginning, I actually had a trading range that was kind of taking into account something like this because I wasn't sure if the day was just going to have a big trading range day, unlike, well, pretty much like yesterday. But excuse me, not yesterday. A few days ago, there was just a big trading range. So I thought this might have actually been what was going to dominate today with an overshoot. I did draw this ascending trend channel. And then when the market opened, you're going to see that prices kind of sold off. And I'm just going to get rid of this because it actually wasn't valid, as you're going to see later. And just keeps the discussion a little more clear. So prices broke down. It's not respecting the EMA at this point. It kind of went up, and now it's just chopping left and right. So at this point, I did draw this bottom trend channel trading range right here, and I just kind of had this actually a little lower, pretty much closer to down here. But it gets adjusted up later. I don't see any entries that I like until I get to about here. Now, if you do a strict count, this is actually the first entry long. Here's your second entry long. But on a visual, it looks like it's one leg down followed by a second leg. So the second entry long visual looks like it'd be setting up right here. However, I didn't take this trade because I didn't recognize it at the time. I thought, okay, well, there's a second entry long. It didn't quite work. It's going to break down below. There's a trading range here with this guy actually closer to down here. And so I didn't take the trade, but it turns out it would have worked. And as you can see, I'm seeing a first entry short. This is kind of reaching a high, and since the trading range was actually, the top of it was closer to here, I was wondering if there's going to be a breakout pullback or just a breakout, failed breakout. And the candle looks good, except it's a bullish candle. But I did see it as a potential second entry short, and it does. It does go all the way back down, so this was enough for a scalp, but I didn't take that trade. Keeps going down. I'm wondering if it's going to touch the bottom of this guy, which is actually closer to here at that point. Prices go up. I see a second entry long potentially setting up here because the first entry long, it broke down below the EMA, and I didn't take the trade, but I saw a possible trade as soon as it got up here. Now, you could either take it one tick above this guy, but then you're potentially running into this guy up here, which is the top of the trading range. There's not enough room to really scalp out, so I felt it was too dangerous. To be really safe on this type of entry, if you didn't know that it was going to be pretty much engulfing this previous one, you'd be taking it one tick above here. And that's an even more riskier entry because you're getting very close to the top of this trading range. So I left it alone. Turns out it would have worked, but again, you don't know it at the time. So I'm just going to put this back. So now I actually drag the line up to here now because I see it's a second touch. Of course, it could have been a breakout, but as you can see, it respected this second line and had a failed breakout here. So you started the count here. You can say it's a first entry short, second entry short. However, I would have started the count at the new low here. So it would have been first entry short, second entry short, kind of went away. You could restart the count after that has completed and do a first entry short, second entry short. But I didn't do any of that. I saw it at the time, but I just decided to leave it alone. It's in a trading range. The EMA is going up and is kind of crushing the price action here. So I wasn't too sure if it was a good idea to short there. Prices kept moving, chopping around. Now it's respecting the EMA. It's also respecting the top of this trading range. So there's kind of a dual competing narrative on this price action, which I just kind of left alone. Prices kept going down. Again, it's touching, confirming the bottom of this trading range. 1, 2, 3, 4 times, maybe a fifth time if you counted this guy as well. And it bounces back up. So right now the EMA is horizontal, doesn't really give me anything to go off of. Now I'm just looking if there's a potential long when I get a breakdown here with a good signal candle, or a potential short up here. Again, if there's a potentially nice signal bar from a really nice bearish candle, like an inverted hammer. Prices go down. It's kind of chopping up and down, left and right. So I see a first entry short. I see, well, I'm always looking now for a potential second entry short if I get toward the top. And you can see I already marked it. And right here, I see a potential second entry short and a potential fail breakout, because at the time, I don't think I had it exactly this high, but it was probably closer to here, just to see if that had more touches, and maybe down here. So it was a potential fail breakout. And then of course, later I corrected it, as you'll see why. But this would have worked, and you'd probably scalp out just the EMA, but I didn't take that trade. Goes down, it goes down through the other side. Prices keep moving. I see a potential second entry long from here, first entry long, second entry long. The problem with this is getting really close to the EMA, which again, may or may not be in control because you're looking at the trading range. And if you waited for this to close, you're kind of at a neutral bar. So you watch the next candle. You would either take it at an engulfing here, or you take it when it goes above the EMA. But there's nothing telling you that would happen. So you'd probably take a safer entry here, but I don't think it's safe anymore because it's already moved through halfway of the trading range. So that's just a trade I left alone. And as it moved up, I draw this trend channel. It's respecting it. It's kind of coming into two potential areas of interest. This top of the trading range, and also this is it's still following the trend channel. Breaks, and now it's kind of just jumping back and forth. Now here, there's no real setup. There is a double top here, but you don't know it's going to break through. You could easily just come back down. So there's no trade there. Breaks through, comes back down. So this could be considered a failed breakout, but look at the size of this candle. It's pretty large. So your risk would be way up here. On top of that, what's telling me is the market is now slowly trying to make its way higher. I mean, it could still be in a trading range, but you don't know that at the time. So it's best for me to have just left that trade alone, which is what I did. And I do see this. I see a first entry long, a second entry long. I like this candle. I actually tried to enter this. I saw a second entry long, but I didn't want to enter at the top of here because it is kind of halfway through this trading range. So I put my entry a little bit lower just to see if I could reduce my risk, kind of halfway through the candle. And I don't get filled because it comes down, goes back up. Had I put the entry here, a little bit higher risk, I would have gotten filled and I would have gotten my scalp. But seeing the size of this candle, I just wasn't sure if, I wasn't sure if it was just going to come back down or not, since it was right at the EMA. Turns out it would have been a good trade. And I look back in hindsight and I think I should have just taken that risk because it looked like it was set up to be pretty good higher probability trade. Prices move up, goes into another trading range. This big trend channel isn't established yet, so just ignore it. I'll just put it as a dashed line for now, just so we can ignore it for now, and I'll later draw it in. And as prices are moving, I see here a failed breakout, the second entry long. This is my first trade of the day. I see a first entry long, it's coming down. I'm watching carefully now, seeing if it's going to break above here and close. It does, because I have my trading range drawn. Breaks above, but I don't want to take it up here. So I actually set my order right here at 40.52. 40.52, I think 75 or 40.52. And it comes down, picks me up, which is fortunate because I got an entry that I wanted. So 40.52, 75, about one tick above this guy, because I didn't want to take it up here. I just want to give myself a little more chance of getting a profitable trade. Put it right here, it picks me up. Saw the second entry long and a failed breakout. I get my core, And unfortunately, my runner gets stopped out at break even or one tick above break even because it came down, picked up my core profit, and then came down and stopped me out on my runner. So that was the first trade. Prices move up. It's respecting the EMA at this point. And so at this time, I'm thinking, okay, there might be a trend line like this. And later I adjust it and kind of get rid of it. So I thought, okay, this looks decent. It doesn't touch the top very well, but while I was working with this one and playing off of this trend channel for now, goes up. Now I did see a second entry short here, but I thought it was aggressive because overall the trading pattern is showing that it's kind of a bullish momentum now. So I certainly didn't want to take a short so soon. It's pretty far from this trading range, so it could break back into it because breakouts of a trading range usually fail. But it also broke out earlier and it kept going. So I wasn't quite sure that that was going to be a safe trade to take. I left it alone. However, it would have worked because you have enough room to the EMA. So it's just kind of chalking it up to experience. Next time I see that, maybe I'll consider it if the context looked a little bit better. And then it comes down. I see a second entry long setting up. So you have a first entry long here. And right here, I'm just wondering because it's at the bottom of this trading range, is it going to set up a second entry long? So you'll see that it does. I marked it. But here I don't want to take this entry because in my chart, the trading range is already near the top where this price is coming. So I don't know if it's going to bounce around. It just feels like I'd be buying the top of the trading range. So I left it alone. It consolidates and now it's breaking above. It provides me a lower high. A lower high could have been a good entry, but I didn't take it at the time because it happened pretty quickly and I wasn't mentally prepared. But I should be more careful and watching that more carefully next time. Goes up and makes a new high. So now I'm careful. I don't want to take a short and I don't want to take a long because it made a new high after this breakout. Prices continue even higher. And now it's consolidating again. So initially I had a trading range drawn where this guy is and where this dash line is, but then it broke out below. And then I see a second entry long here. So I see a first entry long followed by a second entry long. So what I'd liked about this is I actually had this extended all the way over to here at one time. And I thought, okay, well, it looks like it surely made a new high. And it looks like it's going to try to make another new high after that breakout because at that point I also adjusted this intermediate trend line to see if I got a better fit right here. And I actually get a better fit on the top, even though it's there's a little bit of breakthrough. I wasn't too crazy about this, but I thought, okay, well, I at least have one touch, two touch, three touch. This one is a little sloppy, but I also have one touch, two touch, three touch here. So I drew it with this and I thought, okay, well, this is a breakout of this big guy. This trading channel probably wants to see a new extreme. So I thought this second entry long was worth an entry, but I didn't want to take it right away. Okay, now that it broke above the EMA, on this candle, I set my order all the way down here at 60, 55, 75, just right about here, one tick above this guy, right? I might have missed the trade if it was a really strong move up, but I was willing to miss the trade in order to get a better risk reward. So I put my trade here, it picked me up, and immediately when it spiked up, it took me out. It gave me my profit, what I meant to say. But I put it here and I thought, okay, well, I wanted to go back into this trading range, and it did. Then I had a runner and I just kind of dragged the runner up, except since it was so choppy, when I dragged my runner to break even right here, this candle immediately, it opened. At one time it dropped, took me out, and then went back up. So unfortunately the runner got stopped out. And then I drew, at that point I dragged this dotted line, used to be the dotted line, down to here to see, okay, I have all these tests at the bottom. It likely isn't up here anymore, it's down here. And then prices just kept chopping around. Now it's kind of violated this and it's kind of staying on the outside. So I'm wondering, okay, it made two pushes up after the break, made this first push, second push. It might have been played out, but now it's also, I don't know if this trading range is dominating. So it's just kind of sit on hands at this point. Prices move up. It's kind of testing the bottom of this guy now. So I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe this trading range isn't quite accurate because look, it looks pretty nice and clean down here. So I kind of readjusted it again to right here. And here it actually fits a little bit cleaner the top of the range. So I have a better touch here, better touch, a little less sloppy, but I don't have the touch here anymore. But that's okay. I'm this is all kind of in the past. So I'm not looking for trades back here now, but I'm looking for trades going forward. And so this is the current trading range that I was working with, trading trend channel. Prices come back down and it touches this bottom of this trading range. So I'm pretty happy because like it's got 3 touches. I think I have a valid range I'm working with. Right here, I see a first entry short and a potential second entry short. I'm watching here if it closes below the EMA. However, it is counter trend to the overall movement going up. So I was a little leery about taking any kind of trades. Turns out it would have worked. So again, it's chalking it up to experience. Maybe next time if I see it and I see kind of the same characteristic, maybe in a future trading day that's similar to the day, I'll probably be a little more active and take the trade. Breaks down below the trading range. So it breaks out. I don't know if it's going to fail. So it's going to be a breakout or a fail breakout, but it's far from the EMA. So I didn't want to take the trade. Kind of jumps around. Depending on where you took the entry, if you took it right at this line, you would have had enough to get a scalp. But again, I wasn't sure at the time because this is a breakout here now. It could be the first push. It could be a second push that goes all the way up. And it keeps moving. And it looks like it does make a new high. So it follows price action rules. It made the first push and the second attempt. It had a slight pullback and then it went. But I wasn't on that trade, unfortunately. However, I do see this a potential fail breakout. Why? Because I have this trading range here. And it's made its first push, closed outside, made a second push now. And it did make a new extreme. But it didn't make a new extreme inside this guy. So I figured at this point, this is probably going to be a fail breakout of this trading range, and the uptrend has played out. So I saw a fail breakout opportunity, and I took a trade right here. This is my third trade of the day. You'll see where I entered. As prices were jostling around, I put my trade right here, one tick below, pretty much at 41.61, 40.61.25, excuse me, which is right at, I actually wanted it at 40.61. But the prices moved down and actually filled me a little bit better for my short, which is rare, but I'm happy that happened. Goes down. I got out before it touched the EMA, my core. I tried to start dragging my runner down, but it also gets stopped out. Now prices keep moving. And I see a second entry long, but I'm not too keen on taking this entry because even though it's a first entry long here, followed by second entry long, I'd either have to try to take it one tick above, which would be right on this trading range line, or if I wanted to, one tick above here. However, it's already showing me that it's kind of in a trading range. The EMA is coming up. Yes, I could take it and hope that it works, but it's already at the high of the day. This is kind of the highest it's ever been today, so it's a little riskier for me. I didn't want to take that trade. It ends up, it would have worked. So it's kind of, again, chalking up the experience. Maybe I need to be a little more dialed in to see, like, hey, this EMA, although it wasn't quite being respected back here, it's setting up something up that I could potentially take a trade off of. So at this point, I do draw this trading channel going up. And this one looks like it's not going to work anymore. It's kind of being violated. And prices keep moving up. And it touches 1, 2, 3. I like that. And touches kind of 3 times down here as well. So I'm just going to get rid of this guy for now, just to make the chart clear. And prices are moving. And it's kind of touching. And it's in a trading range again. It breaks out below. And it's touching the bottom of here. So I could consider this a first entry long. Look for a second entry long here. But I don't like the signal bar here. It comes up. Now this is a second entry long confirmed. However, I have this trading range. It could be a failed breakout that goes back in, but I'm leery of this EMA. I want to see if this had kind of closed up higher, I would be a little more confident taking that entry. And here it does close above, but now it's too late for me to try to take this trade because where would I enter? I'd probably try to take it right here, but this candle already told me that it's on its way up. To try to take an entry here, most likely I won't get filled. Take an entry here, I may or may not get filled. But certainly if I put it up here, that's very risky because I'm at the top of this trading range. So if I did take it here, I wouldn't have gotten filled. I take it here, I would have gotten trapped. I would have gotten filled and then immediately stopped me out. And right here, I would have gotten filled, but it's already on its way down. I don't like the character of this candle. I would have probably canceled the order. And then if I tried to enter here, I still wouldn't have gotten filled yet. But then this has changed. The dynamic has changed. I'd be a little leery of trying to take that same trade now because too many candles have moved and the price action is different. The setup is different. So here I do see a second entry long. If you kind of couple this together as first entry long and then second entry long, and it goes up to close to where the top of the trading range is. I thought it was a little aggressive because if you're counting strictly on the count of price action in the candles, this is actually the first entry, second entry. You could say there's a higher low, or you could say there's a first entry and the second entry. So definitely there's a higher low here. In hindsight, I think it should have been taken as a trade. So I'll actually mark it as a higher low and probably just give it an asterisk saying it's probably worth a try, a trade, but I missed it. So unfortunately, sometimes you don't get them all. So let me just point out, I counted this as a higher low because if you said this is a first entry, second entry, this is a higher low. It's also a failed second entry. So the first entry, second entry. So when I missed this one was staring me in the face. Unfortunately, I wasn't paying attention to price action at the time. I think I was away from the desk. And this was a missed trade. But look at this candle. It's pretty nice. It's closing toward the high. It's going to press out. There's probably a bunch of stops right here from people that shorted, because all these people that decide to short, or people even here deciding to short on the second entry short, or people are just trying to catch the top. They think, okay, well, it's obviously moved too much now. It's got to come back down. I'm going to short somewhere in here, and my stop's going to be up here. So if I had placed my order, I would have placed my order one tick above right here, so that if this breaks above, I think it would run up very strongly, and it does. So right here, all those guys, all the traders that had a stop here would have gotten stopped out, and it would have kept moving up. And then that would have added to the bullish momentum of being bought up, and it just would have kept going. So this is a good trade that I missed, unfortunately. Prices keep moving up. And again, we're in another trading range again. So I draw and establish this trading range because things are just chopping. Right now, it's respecting the EMA. And it's going back up. So I see a second entry long failed breakout. Why do I see a failed breakout? Because I actually had this a little bit higher. I actually had this line a little bit higher up here at the time. And the top was a little bit lower. It's actually kind of closer to like that. And I saw first entry. So from here, new high, first entry long, second entry long, potentially setting up here. I like this because I like that the lower part of the trading range was being respected. So I had my order ready, but I didn't like that it closed right at the EMA. However, I like the EMA is pointing up. The overall trend is bullish, even though it's a slow bull run. I put my order right there and it got picked up, which is perfect. So at 40.69.25, which is one tick above this guy. Actually, it's right at this guy. I was lucky. 40.69.25, and then I got my core, and I like the looks of this candle. I dragged my runner to break even, and unfortunately, it gets stopped out. Well, actually, I think I dragged it up, and I got a little bit of better fill. So that was pretty nice, because I think I kept it right about here, or a little bit below, and just in case it bounced back down, because you have to keep in mind you're at the very high of the day at this point. That was my last and final trade of the day. But I'll just go through the rest of the chart. So prices are bouncing around in here, and now it breaks through. And remember that measured move that I had for this first gigantic leg up. I just copied it and pasted it right here, put it right here, and I just said, well, maybe today it's going to get up to this 40.74. And when you're looking way back here, you're not sure that's actually going to happen. But this doesn't cost you anything to put that measured move guideline there, which is what I did just to see if price action would be respected and would come up and touch this. Lo and behold, it does kind of get up there. It breaks out and it gets really close and finally it touches. So if you're playing a larger time frame or thinking about how things might react, if you consider this as a big low here, new low, you could have considered this as the first entry short, second entry short. Now, I didn't do that because I count the candles very deliberately. So if I took it here, I'd say this is a first entry short, this is a second entry short, and then you could say you're going to restart the count and say first entry short, down here, second entry short. So it would have worked. And again, this is off the measured move. And this is a decent candle. This is at the high, But I don't like that the EMA is coming up and kind of giving me not that much room to maneuver. So I'd have to take a very quick scalp. I might not even gotten scalped out because at this point, the EMA is somewhat being respected. It could just come down here and bounce straight up. So I left that trade alone, but certainly there is an entry there you could have taken if you're aggressive. So at this point, I was assessing things and I thought, okay, I'm going to draw a trend line from the top, have a touch here, have a touch here, and just kind of see if there's a bigger range in effect. So I deleted those other ones that were in play at the time because the trades are already made. And prices come down. It breaks out of this trading range. And it kind of bounces off of this. So at that point, I just decided, okay, well, it of course is not helping me really because it's so late in the day, but it's giving me kind of a context of what I'm seeing. So I just wanted to have this established just so it had 3 touches here. It really only had about 2 touches here, but at least it's giving me an idea of what the overall trend of the day is, which will give me an idea of maybe what tomorrow will bring. But it doesn't help the trade at this point too much because it's so late in the day. I'm kind of wrapping things up at this point. When it breaks down below, you get a bunch of little entries, but it's so far from the EMA, it'd be risky to take a long, but you certainly don't want to take a short because it'd be going against the overall bullish momentum. And it could make its way back up to here and test this, which is kind of what it happens. What happens is it goes up, it tests it, but look how late in the day it is. I certainly don't want to take a trade here because you don't have that much time to resolve this trade before the market resolves it for you. So it goes up, ends up breaking through. I'm just watching at this point. I'm not taking any trades just because it's too late in the day. I don't want to get stuck on something because you can't really hold overnight. They'll just kind of cash you out. So that's kind of how I saw the chart play out. It was a very bullish, slow bullish day, but it was a spike, a channel, and then a very gradual rally all the way up. So that's how I saw the charts today. As I said, if you watch this long, I appreciate it, but otherwise just look down at the descriptions below for all the points of interest.